there. A good time to check your wallet. Make sure it is in full conformity with your faith.
There you go. I like that. Wallet in conformity with your faith. And here to tell us a little more about that is Drew. Good morning, Drew.
Hey, good morning, Dave and Ron. How you doing?
Doing
Terrific.
great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I got that conference I'm going to be leaving to in about 20 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Mr. Dr. Ben Brown is going to come pick me up. We're driving out to Pennsylvania. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a little talk on Bitcoin and the Catholic approach to it. So
Great. So you get to try it out on us.
yeah, I'll do it right now. No. So we talked about a couple things I want you guys to think about is we talked about can Bitcoin be a currency? So if you have a something that devalues like the dollar, what does that create? It creates more debt. Because you want to go in debt today, creates immediacy. People think about the now, not the future. Now, if you substitute that with Bitcoin, the problem about Bitcoin, it evaluates. It goes up in value. What does that create? It creates, instead of inflation, deflation. It's deflationary pressure. So the problem with that, if you have something you use as money that goes up in value, that means prices are going down. And what do you do with that money? You don't want to spend it. You want to hoard it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's the problem because you want to. Money's there to spend. Money shouldn't be in of itself something beautiful you hold on to. You want to trade your labor for somebody else's labor. So I don't know if it's necessarily. So Father Fahey would say that Thomas Aquinas would say the government's responsibility is for the common good. The government should be responsible for the money supply, not what we have today, which is commercial banks, private entities. But here's what I want to bring up today real quick. Can Bitcoin be something that benefit a business? As in, Apple's the most profitable company out there. They have a lot of cash. Why do they go in debt? They have tons of debt for Apple. The reason is because the dollar devalues. If you hold on to the dollar, your earnings per share will go down because you lose about 3 to 5% per year of the dollar.
Wow.
So what you want to do is you want to go in debt. And what happens with a lot of businesses, their earnings per share will go down. So they go, when they use their cash, they burn it up. They either go risky ventures. They'll do a merger or acquisition that does not make sense. And we have tons of failures. If you look at the failure rate of businesses from 5 to 10 years, it's huge. So instead of holding on to cash, if businesses held on to Bitcoin, that could benefit them. Here's a couple ways. There's something called fair value accounting. They just made a decision that this year in 2024, where accounting before, if you had Bitcoin on your books, you only could show the value of what you purchased it for. So if Bitcoin went up in value, you could not show that on your balance sheet. So businesses didn't want Bitcoin, but they're changing that where you get to show it as the market value on your portfolio, on the balance sheet.
That part makes sense, right? You should be able to show it for what it's actually worth.
And as far as I know, the accounting purposes will change for the FASB this December of 24, and they made that decision last year. So that's a huge thing.
Wow.
What does that give? So if companies hold on to Bitcoin, there's no counterparty risk. So if a business wants to hold on to the U.S. government securities, your risk is the United States government.
Right.
If you want to hold on to Chinese bonds, your risk is China. If you want to hold on to Apple bonds, your risk is Apple. But with Bitcoin, there's no counterparty risk that nobody owns Bitcoin.
Right.
You don't have to worry about a decision of what somebody does. There's a benefit. It has better tax treatment. Self-custody and portability, which means there's an advantage over sovereign debt that has the ability for businesses to take direct ownership through the so they actually own it rather than, it's kind of the same thing with counterparty risk. So why is that important? Is because, got my notes right here. Stable companies provide vital opportunities for workers, especially fathers, to secure reliable employment that enable them to support their families. As Pope Leo XIII emphasized in Rerum Novarum, the dignity of labor is central to both individuals and society. So the relationship between labor and capital protects the social order, and therefore it lets families live in virtuous lives. So the important is, if we can have businesses not go under constantly, we have unemployment, we have more secure labor, we could have a better social order. So can Bitcoin provide that for businesses? And what's great about that, if a business with their cash, let's say, buys land, that's very hard to sell the land, and the fees are expensive. You buy gold, you have to sell the cost, I think, is around 6% that you lose every time you sell gold. But Bitcoin is very minimal fees. You could sell it at any denominated price, and it's instant that they get it. So I guess the point is, it can't be really currency. It should be used as wealth, that if you want to hold on to your wealth, but it could benefit businesses. And then therefore it would help out employment for companies.
Let me ask you this. So if we go all the way back to St. Thomas Aquinas, government needs to produce and oversee currency. Is it realistic? I mean, is it fair to say that Bitcoin has come about as an option only because the governments who should be doing this haven't done a good job with it?
I mean, I think you can argue that. I think the way that our system is set up is where you get, since we have private institutions that control the money supply, commercial banks, you get rapid inflation. And because they want to keep on printing money. And then when you're in a recession, they don't want to lend out. And then you have the devout. That's the job of the government, to make sure that the best way to do it is to make sure money grows at production. And I would argue, yes, you are right. The reason why Bitcoin came about is just because the dollar is not as something you can hold on to as value. So, yes, I guess the answer to the question is yes, Dave.
It'll be interesting to see where Bitcoin goes in the years ahead, too. So, and I know you're going to be on top of all that. So,
Drew, I want to ask you to do this real quickly. If you would please record the conversation all the way to your destination between you and Dr. Ben Brown. I just think that would be a fabulous conversation to kind of be a fly on the wall on. So please just hit record. Don't tell him.
It's 4.5 hours, though.
4.5 hours, and then we can make that available for a nominal donation to the Share-a-thon. That'd be good. Drew, have a great conference
Thanks, Drew.
today.
Hey, thank you.